reason we have asked for this rapid session is we finished with, on Thursday of 2 weeks ago, more or less, with the development of the new technology with power and energy unit. Some people have seen the use of the beads, and some people have seen the use of the new spring setups which we have shown. In the process of past week, we have seen people who are trying to do these processes and they see difficulties or they don't understand the process. And I know we are off for another month. Instead of leaving it to come back in the teaching time to teach, as the coming Thursdays is allocated for the health section only. And it's rather important that these matters are cleared out very rapidly, that the development of the technology by people in respect to the energy and then following the energy with a lift can be smooth. I've seen a number of emails that people see like electric shocks, they see sparks, they see high release of energy through some of their systems they put together. It has to be understood, the technology, and you have to understand what you are doing and how you're proceeding with the manufacture of these systems which you do. Every one of you, when you manufacture a system, is manufactured, is done with your soul, with your energy. The structure has to be understood, and when the structure is not understood, you run into these problems, and then it can cause you more problems because then you can't use it, you get disappointed, or you don't see the process. I put the camera here to explain to you in a very simple way. You put a bead. If you go to the Alekz section, what Alekz did, you put a bead inside the system. And then in your bead, you have a nano-coated black wire as a center. Then what you do, or what you've done, let me get my color pens out. You put around your nanomaterial your GaNs in this form. And then what you do, you added aluminum foil, and then on the aluminum foil or the what you call the cover, you have put in like a titanium or whatever nickel paper, and then you have wounded your copper coil in this format. You put coil around it, or you put a coil around, another coil around here, and you have connected this coil in one way to here, and this coil here has been connected to the next stem or next unit. These are two different units, here and here. They're not interconnected, they're separate. So what has happened is that in this process, you have transferred the energy of the GaNs in the center, which is here, into the material of the nano layer inside. And at the same time, by putting pressure on your plates with the coil, you have released the power of the plasma, energy release of the plasma, outwards, that it can be absorbed by these two. And
you seem to have lost Mr. Keshe's audio and video here. Yeah, we lost a little bit there, the last minute or so. Just the part after you were describing about the coils, and just the last part there, like we didn't see about the DC part and the arrows going that way.
okay.
You were talking about the compression, the pressure of the coils. That's right. Thanks, Vince.
Okay. What happens is that the pressure you put on the plates, the nickel and the aluminum foil, releases two energy of the GaNs material inside, which you put with a tissue paper or whatever. This goes, the pressure releases the plasma of the GaNs, one way into the coated material, which is here, and then the other way is pushing, releasing the energy that can be absorbed by the other nano layers which you winded on the top. So the field release is one into the center layer and one into the coil outside. The way you winded one back into itself to the main core, which is here, this allows to flow the current forward to be picked up and moved to the next stage, which is sitting on the back. So in reality, what you have done, you have created a very much a structure of a planet in the solar system, or a solar system in a galaxy. Part of the energy is fed back into the bar, into the system, and whatever is released as in the North Pole or the exit is fed out into the environment, which you, by putting the nano wires around the top of the aluminum foil and a nickel or chrome or whatever you choose, you show the direction. This is where most of you have not understood. You see the wires and you see as the behavior of the electrons. Because of the nano coating on these wires, you show a pattern of flow. You create a river for the flow of energy. You are not dictating the current flow. You're just showing a path, because now the nano coating energy is released into the nano coating, not into the matter state, and the matter state itself is enforced to become a passage, but with matter state inside it. So what you have, what you get is a DC. All the powers you get in this system is DC only. You don't get anything else. All your material is DC. Can I ask you a question? Do you see my writing in the right order or the wrong order? Is it back to front?
It's correct at this side here. Yep.
Yeah,
it's good there, okay.
In your video settings, you can enable that. If you go back to your video settings and uncheck where it says mirror my video, that might make it a little bit easier for you to adjust it.
Okay, I go to my video.
You go to your video settings where you did before.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm there, yeah.
And then you should be able to uncheck where it says mirror my, or display my video as mirrored or something like that.
Okay, it's done. Okay, now it's easier, because I was getting confused with my own writing.
Exactly, so that's why.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'm still there. I'm still in the
there.
same. Yeah, I still see it back to front.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so what problem I have, what the problem sits, is that all your power sits in DC. This DC is a plasmatic DC. This DC is not electron DC. This is where most of your problem sits, and this is something has to be understood. The reality is that you work in plasma DC, not in electron DC. There is a huge difference, and this difference will cost you failure or success with your systems. Plasma DC is a natural flow of current of gravitational and magnetical in the flow of the magnetic field of the universe. Electron DC is a given measure of the energy vibration of electron in the flow of magnetic field. So with the current electron flow DC, you have dictated a measure. You have dictated a bandwidth of energy. In a plasmatic DC, there is no bandwidth. So you have a full spectrum of a continuous flow of plasma. When the plasma in this state as a DC, reaches the matter state of the copper, then the electron package of the copper dictates what it needs, and it transfers that amount to electron DC. This is vital. Please understand this. Your plasmatic DC is different than electron DC. Electron DC is a given measure. It has a bandwidth of gravitational magnetic field strength, vibration, where the plasmatic DC is unconditional, covers from the principle down to the matter state and below. So wherever the plasmatic DC comes in the environment, only releases that bandwidth. So if the electron DC, if you want a proton DC, at the proton level, it releases the proton level energy. And this is where you have to be very clear about this, because then when the DC, plasmatic DC, comes to the what you call 120 or 240 or 220 volts, and it comes to 60 hertz, or it comes to 50 hertz, or it comes to 120, 140, takes the shape of and releases that energy. That's why with the new structure of the plasma technology, the way you're producing energy, this is a chameleon. It fits and it releases what is needed at the point of need. This is what I've been teaching you regarding the structure of the body of the man. When the plasma as a lymph gets to a specific point, at that point, what is needed to become the nail cell or your heart cell or your brain cell, that energy is used for that specific, because it gives it a bandwidth through the neural current and through the emotional part. So you have this position, now you see it. But what happens, where your problem is, and I ask for this to be clarified very urgent that you can understand, is that your beads on these levels, on these layers, and across these wires carry this, the plasmatic energy. And if you do not understand and create a short circuit, or by touch or by material, you release a plasmatic energy which is highly potential than the electron. And then the spark you see is the energy which is from plasmatic at the point of contact, is trying to convert into electrical or electron vibration or current. This is very important. Please, you have two choices. When you're making these beads, you make sure that your wires are isolated and insulated from a metal environment. You do not get this, but you just need a special touch somewhere and it's done. The people who are using this energy, this kind of beads, and they do different form of beads. What I've seen to be done, if we call this formation bead formation 1, as you've seen it, some people use, in a way, formation 1 bead. They use a material, they use a formation 1 bead, and one go to the back, and then they connect this one to another formation 1 bead, and they repeat the same thing. This is highly, highly powerful system. This is extremely powerful system, because what you're doing now, you're adding and adding and adding on. Some people use the second formation. They use this, and this is what Alekz has done, and then they go to a normal condition, 1 bead, normal forward, 1 bead, normal forward to another bead. If you use this formation, which is back to front, feeding from what I call plasmatic into gravitational, you get a very powerful system, because there is nothing wasted, more or less. Here, you only dictate that you are working with magnetical, You continuously enforce magnetical. And then with these systems, you have a different performance. And then if there is another system which nobody has up to now touched it, is that you use the gravitational from both ends as a magnetical and gravitational. This system, at the moment, you do not work with. But this second combination, which I've seen been done, so what happens if your coating or your structure touches a matter state, then the release of the plasma in the plasma state changes, converts to plasma at a matter electron plasma and creates these huge sparks. One of the fundamental points, I repeat again, if you are connecting a plasmatic system like this, as you have developed, plasmatic DC to your, like the car, into your ignition key, please make sure you do not carry gas tanks, because the energy of the system converts into the gas. Your gas tank over time becomes nano-coated. Then your gas inside the tank is a matter state in gravitational and can have dangerous condition. Any of you is using a gas tank as a backup, make sure there is no physical connection between your gas tank and your electric connection and your feeding connection into your system, because there is a misunderstanding that you think you have connected your system to your electric current flow. In this process of plasma, when you connect your cars through the cigarette lighter to a bead system, the whole of the car becomes part of the structure. People who are using the system for past few weeks, hope they've done it, they're in a hurry to see how it works. They have seen a saving of 28%, 30%, and the more they drive the car, they see better performance, is because the energy of the system is becoming more and more plasmatic. If some people are trying, they see they can start the car, but after a while, they need a fuel. As the system grows and develops, you find that you need less and less fuel to the consumption, to add to your consumption of the fuel. The saving is huge. The power supply is very strong. But you got to understand, as we explained, the whole car becomes part of the reactor. We've seen people reporting feeling weightless, or what do you call it, lightness in the brake, feeling that the car is much easier to drive, feeling that the car has a totally different performance, because slowly as you move it, as the flow goes from the bead or from even your battery heads where you put 2 coils on it, your system is becoming part of a nano-coated environment. Literally, your car becomes like your body. Whatever inside it behaves as in a what we call vacuum condition. This has consequences, this has applications, and in a way is a neutral state of matter. You only take what you need from it, and this change is huge. If you have a what I call rechargeable battery cars, where you have to recharge your car and use the beads, you will find out a conflict between your system every time you put it into a charger and your system. You have to take one off and the other one. And then as you go further, you find out you don't need to use so much. There is a new design of the system, as I explained last Thursday, coming into operation, which should look after a lot of these things automatically. How much more powerful a plasmatic condition. But our main concern, and this is the reason I call this, is for the people who are testing these cars, testing these beads. These beads have a power that they deliver plasmatic current, not electron current. And when you connect your plug into your ashtray, or you connect wires on your battery, you're looking at you think of electron plasma, where we are actually in a plasmatic condition, universal plasmatic condition. This is very, very important. There is another point. Some of you have been doing, as we shown in the last teaching, you have moved from the beads. The beads are very difficult. The beads are a burden which on the nations which they don't have the gas and all the materials. As we showed to you, we have started using springs. And you've seen the process of the springs where we shown in the drawings and in the system we showed. Some of you are reporting to us that you are getting sparks and you're getting blown every time something blows up the minute you connect your system to your car or you try to use the system. This flow in the spring is different flow than in the beads of what Alekz has shown you. This is a different technology. This is a different understanding of technology. Here you are working with plasma transfer totally in a plasmatic condition without interference of matter. In the Aleksz's bead, you had interference of matter. You had the aluminum foil and you had the nickel foil. Here, everything is plasmatic. System is extremely powerful. These systems are built, that's why we brought it in, for the next stage of teaching, which is to do with lift and motion. Some people are trying this and they're reporting they're getting blow up. When they connect what they've done, for example, they've done a full circle, the way we've shown, whatever, and then they connect it to a plug, and when they plug the system in, it blows up. It blows the fuse up. Because what you're doing here is wrong. You have not understood the difference between the plasmatic, electron plasmatic transfer, and interaction and interface between the two. In these processes, the ones who most of you are using or moving into the what I call spring system, which I showed in the last teachings in the center, you got to have understanding that in the beads with Alekz, with these systems of putting the covers, you have already dictated the matter state plasma. So what has leaked through the physical barrier has already given you the direction of the DC as an electron level. These metal pieces are filters for what it needs to be released into your nano layer. Here you do not have this filter. Here you're dealing with total plasmatic, and most of you see this. We've seen this in the teachings with Armin and Marco. What is needed here as an interface between the plasmatic magnetic field and matter electron magnetic field as you have in your wires. So we need an interface. Here the interface was the plates, you put aluminum foil and the nickel or whatever. Here you need to introduce this interface, a point of conversion from plasmatic to plasmatic electron level. There are two ways to do this, and this is the only reason I asked for today's or energy discussion, is that this is a freedom you never had in the world of electronics. Here, this energy can be used for the control of lift and landing of your star formation, because everything is plasmatic. And by putting a filter, you can continuously tap into matter level 2, that you can run your batteries, you can run your cars, you can run your computers or whatever. If you go back into the teaching, I explained that the energy units we will supply will be in the second stage, what we shown with the reactors at the bottom and top, and a plate in the middle. The energy systems we will supply with will cover that if you're going for a lift, because you need this technology to be able to control lift, direction of lift, in a plasmatic level in your coils, with a plasmatic condition in your cores. So you're not converting from plasma to matter. So in fact, if you look, your beads will be like this. You have your beads, your, what I call, not the beads, but the springs, which are in plasmatic, as you've seen it. The center one is gravitational, the other one is magnetical, and then underneath you have the seating of your reactors. And then you have a core reactor number 4, as you've seen in the drawings of the Keshe Foundation we released in the for energy systems. Here, the plasmatic condition controls and shares with plasmatic. There is no matter conversion. Where at part of this here, for example, you want to run your system with, let's say, to run a computer, to run your lighting in the house, or lighting in the car, or whatever, or a fridge in the car. This interface here is different the interface here. Here the interface is above matter state, because the structure works totally in plasmatic condition. Here is a conversion of the plasmatic flow, universal plasmatic flow, converted to be converted into the matter electron vibration plasma. So at this interface, you need a converter. You need something to convert the energy of the plasma to what is needed in the matter level. As I explained with the sandwich system, this was given by the 2 layers. Here you have 2 choices. You can produce a GANS state, liquid not, but in a paste or even dry GANS, that you put your gravitational magnetic field, because don't forget, in Alex's system, you have a gravitational in the back and a magnetical in the front. Here, your gravitational and magnetical comes together. So you have to allow, you cannot make a physical connection like tying up and putting a screw through. You have to allow your, if I look at it this way, you have to allow your wires to come in and join an environment of a GANS. You don't make a connection. And then you take your matter state out to whatever you need as the point of need. So in this position, your energy comes into a plasma storage. This is a plasma capacitor. If you can achieve this, this is a little bit technical, but most of you can do. The people who are on the job development, they know what to do with this. Or you make a paste, not a liquid. It has to be a hard paste, where if you manage, you can succeed to do it. In your paste, you add some not what you call nanomaterials. You introduce some matter state, what you call conductive material, where you convert the energy of the plasma as it comes into the capacitor to the matter state that your current flow in your system can pick up. So what you actually do, you dictate. If you put copper, let's say like a copper dust, or you put copper nanomaterial as the nano black material, and you add wire connection or dust of the copper into the paste, you create that conversion that then your system can pick up. The interface has to be created. These are new capacitors which you have to learn to use. The difference between these capacitors and the capacitors used in a matter state is that these capacitors can hold huge amount of energy, where with the other capacitors which you presently use in a matter state, the capacitance is dictated, 650, 200, whatever. This technology has to be developed. So what you need, and if you don't have this understanding yet to create nano capacitors in a way of GaNs capacitors, you have to use the standard capacitors you can buy in the market. You put a capacitor online in two ways, one on the load and one on the interface between the two, that you control the flow of plasma. In a due course, we will explain this. In due course, we'll explain to you. So Renan has put this picture on the internet and some people haven't noticed it. And if you are not of the electronic mind, you don't see the use. You need these capacitors, not to store energy, but to convert the plasmatic flow into the current electron plasma flow. Then you'll find out you have access to continuous supply, because the capacitor converts what it needs as it needs from the plasmatic into the AC to a DC or whatever you need into electron plasma flow. This way is the only way at the moment you can understand to convert the energy. And as I said, in the electronic technology of today, what you do, you connect, you have a screw, you put a box in and you screw it, and then you screw the other piece to it. In a plasma technology is the transfer of plasma. Your wires are rivers of fields. They are not physical entity. And when you put a screw on them to tie them up, you create yourself a new problem. Because you try to convert the matter energy from a plasma energy which is coming in, and then you get all the sparks and all the problems. So you need a capacitance. You have to develop a capacitor which converts the plasmatic to the matter energy. Then you don't get the sparks, you don't get the blow-ups, and if you do not do this, you'll find out you cause yourself a lot of problem. In so many ways, the new what are called universal systems with the springs gives you a new freedom. And this freedom is very much can be used to convert the energy of the plasma to any energy you need. You can convert the plasma energy to motion. You can change it to high power megawatt powers. You can convert it to rotational. You can use it to lift. You can use it to create an atmospheric condition for confinement. These are important. These are the next steps, development. And we had to bring this teaching in today for you to understand the use and the difference between the two systems. The one we've seen with Alekz, you already have dictated it with the filters. Here, you have to introduce a filter. You lot are doing a lot of effort. You're making all sorts of beats, and then you find out your system doesn't work or it blows up, because you have to make a system to convert energy from plasmatic to a matter electron vibration plasma packages. You don't create an electron current. You create packages of electron plasma packages which behaves and manifests itself as an electron current. Is a big difference, a huge difference. One is actual vibration of electrons in the DC as you are used to. With a new system is the energy of the vibration. is pre-packaged. And you take what you need, and that's why you see huge current flow from these systems. Because there you already have the slices in the matter state. Here you have a vast reservoir that you dictate what size the slice is going to be. You transfer the energy again through nanomaterials into a gas nano state. These plasma capacitors has to be a composite to the level you want the energy to be done. So what you're actually doing, you're dictating the energy level. If you remember in the teachings of the plasma condition, we explained very simply that you can put your reactor, and then by creating different environments, you decide if you have to have hydrogen here and carbon here, or you have a protein here or whatever. Now you see the use of the same thing here. By putting matter state like copper, what you call dust or whatever, now you're dictating the energy which you want to be released, which can be at the level of your consumption. So next time when you're in another space, if you change your systems from, let's say, electron vibration in another environment to a plasma of, let's say you want to use to produce, let's say, carbon only, you create a filter here that it allows you only carbon conversion, and you collect carbon energy level, and then you convert this energy level to carbon as a gas or a matter state or whatever you need. This is the important part of this teaching. If you understand the filtering, here we do the plasmatic filtering, here we do interface between the plasmatic and the matter state filtering. For some of you will jump across this, you understand it very quickly. Some of you will take time. Here you're using with the plasma state. Again, you have to decide what you want to do it and how much you want to filter out of it. One is the load, and one is to your direct, what you call, supply. Is there a need in the coming time to connect your systems to the power supply of the house and then see production? What we see and what we will explain in the coming time is that if you are using the power supply, power generators, please understand one thing. A lot of systems, as we've been told, like the Italian systems, they only show power consumption out, what is used. They do not consider what you put back into the grid. So what you see, you're still paying the power used, but you don't see benefit of what you're putting out. So what you need to do in the cases like this is disconnect yourself from the power supply of the grid and connect yourself to your own system production. This is one of the things we teach as we come to it. Once we release the commercial unit, videos will be made. We will never publish any paperwork with this because everything will go on the internet. Teaching, you're advised, do not operate your system till you've seen the documents on the teaching. You have to sign you've seen it, that you can use the system. So you will understand in the coming time, some countries like Italy have blocked the reversal of your meter into the grid, which means you will never see any benefit. You still keep on paying the same bill because only shows your power consumption. In these cases, you have to make arrangements that you disconnect yourself from the system, that you create yourself a new power supply.